Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dato' Dr. Jekatizan Manikavasagam, Pro-Chancellor of Universiti Sains Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Profesor Dato' Dr. Ahmad Syukri Mustafa Kamal, Ahli Lembaga Gubernur Universiti Sains Malaysia. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Abdul Rahman Muhammad, Timbalan Chancellor Jaringan Industri dan Masyarakat. Yang berbahagia Profesor Dato' Dr. Abdul Aziz Tajuddin, Pendaftar Universiti Sains Malaysia. Seterusnya, hadirin tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, welcome to a slot with our Pro-Chancellor of Universiti Sains Malaysia, yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dato' Dr. Jekatizan Manikavasagam. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very privileged to have with us our Pro-Chancellor yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dato' Dr. Jekatizan Manikavasagam. Before we start, here is a brief introduction of yang berbahagia Tan Sri. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dato' Dr. Jekatizan Manikavasagam, fondly called the Flying Doctor of Malaysia for blazing the tracks around Asia, despite being firstly a medical student, then a doctor, was an icon in the 1960s, regarded as the golden era of Malaysian athletics. In his heyday, Tan Sri Jekatizan was regarded as the fastest man in Asia. He served the Government Health Service for 32 years, including the post of Director of the Institute for Medical Research and Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Health Malaysia. He is a medical researcher and was appointed as chairman of the Commonwealth Games Federation, CGF, Medical Commission and honorary medical advisor for the 2006 Melbourne Commonwealth Games. Tan Sri Jekatizan has also served as chairman of the Medical Council and the Anti-Doping Commissions of the Olympic Council of Asia, as well as the deputy president of the Olympic Council of Malaysia, OCM. He is currently one of the 3 pro-chancellors of Universiti Sains Malaysia, a post he held since March 2011. Ladies and gentlemen, let us watch the video promo Kemerdekaan Universiti Sains Malaysia.
Tak ke jalan nak ke rumah Tan Sri?
Mestilah tahu. Kan Tan Sri I punya uncle?
Ya, tu. Tan Sri, what is your proudest moment?
Yang tu kali.
Ini ke?
Cuba buka tu.
Sikit lagi.
Betul tu.
You cannot do that. You mix up the whole storyline.
Ya, Bah. Betul tu, kan kita suruh gini ceritanya. Sekarang semua suruh berubah.
I yang shortcut, I tahu apa yang betul atau tak.
No, Pavi. We have to follow the storyline that we decided earlier. Give me some space.
Mungkin kita malah je kelahi, sikit kerja pun si kan siap.
Yalah, kita satu kumpulan mah bincang baik-baik lah.
Dalam hidup ni, tak semua pendapat kita sama. Kita kan berbeza. Tapi, tak bermakna kita tak boleh bersama. Tak ada masalah pun yang tak boleh diselesaikan. Kita akan selesaikan masalah ni sama-sama, okey?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I watched the Olympic Games in 1956 from movies, and then I saw that at the time when the winners are put on a rostrum and they receive medals, and then they play the flag. So I was very impressed. I watched the 1956 Olympics. 1957, our country was becoming independent. I was studying in Singapore, my father was a government servant, ordered me to come back because I must not miss the Declaration of Independence. He told me, he said, the country become independent only once. You catch the train and come back. I went with my father, stood in Dataran Merdeka, and we saw Tunku Abdul Rahman shout Merdeka. Merdeka! So the first time I'm hearing the Malaysian anthem being played and the flag, and so I told myself, one day I'm going to run in all these international meet and I'm going to make them raise this flag and play this anthem for me. And I made them do 11 times.
Begitulah persembahan video kami mengenai seorang tokoh sukan negara dan cerita beliau tentang harapan dan impian beliau pada negara.
Very well, team. That's a good video presentation.
Bila kita bersama, kita akan berjaya.
We hope you have all enjoyed the video. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Jekatizan Manikavasagam to the stage.
Selamat pagi, everybody. Yang Berbahagia, Profesor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail, Naib Chancellor. Yang Berbahagia, Profesor Datuk Dr. Ahmad Shukri, Ahli Lembaga Governor, dan leaders of the University Management, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, and new students, fresh students of USM. It gives me great pleasure to be standing here before you, because more than anything else, it reminds me of 60 or 70 years ago when I was sitting in your place. And that was you will agree with me that this is one of the most important days of your life. Am I right or not? Yes. You will remember this day as much as you remember your birthday. You remember the day you went to school. You remember the day you got your certificate that allowed you to come here. Next thing you remember the day you get married. Then you remember the day you get your first child, and it goes on and on. These are landmark dates. Today is a very important date. There are 3 things you must do today, and I want you to follow me in doing them. So can you all be upstanding, please? The first thing that you must do is to congratulate yourself for getting a place in this great university. Clap for yourself. It is not easy to get in here. You are very privileged. Remember this. You are very privileged. You are in a great university, almost at no cost, heavily subsidized by government, and you'll get a degree that will be recognized, appreciated, get you a job. So what is the next thing that you must do? So you have congratulated yourself, that's great. The next thing you must remember is that you did not come here by yourself. There are many people who have helped you along the way, and never forget them. Never forget to say thank you. Am I right? Who are the first people you have to thank? Parents, your father and your mother. Then maybe your relatives, your uncles or your aunties or whoever helped you. Don't forget your school teachers. Don't forget other people who have helped you along the way. In my own life, I actually have a list of 30 over people who have helped me at different stages. Nobody in this world can claim to be what they are just by themselves. To be successful, you need the help of others, and so now you too must help other people. So now I want you to now just spend a little while quietly remembering all the people who have helped you and say a silent thank you to them because you are here. Can we do that, please? Thank you. The last thing you must do as you are standing is now look up. And don't be afraid to look at the stars. Because if you look and aim for the stars, at least you will hit the moon. And that is where you want to go. So I want you to look now and imagine for the next couple of seconds where you want to be in 1 year's time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time. You must all have ambitions. You must all know where you're going. Am I right? So can we just pause for a bit, project your minds, and imagine and dream what you want to be and where you want to go. Can we do that? And don't be afraid. Aim for the stars. Even if you miss the stars, you will hit the moon. Right? Just imagine where you want to be. So don't be afraid to dream. Thank you for all this, for humoring me by standing up and doing this. I'm more excited than you. Okay, now please be seated. Please be seated and relax. Okay? My whole purpose of this was to try to imprint in your memory the real importance of this day. Because today is the first day of the rest of your life. Am I right? Doesn't matter how long we each live, but today we share something in common. This is the first day of the rest of our lives. And your whole life will now unfurl before you. And you'll be doing many things. There'll be many defining moments. There'll be many decisions that you will make. And you can call this the journey of life. All right? It's the journey of life. Now, the journey of life is not going to be absolutely smooth. You know that, isn't it? As you go on a journey, you'll have all kinds of things happening. Sometimes you miss a turning. Sometimes your car breaks down. Sometimes you run out of petrol. So many things can happen. Do you give up? No, you don't give up. You will remain persistent. Persistent to achieve your goals. And where do you get your goal in the first place? The goal comes from a dream. So as young persons, don't be afraid to dream. All right? Don't be afraid. Nothing wrong in dreaming. Every one of you can dream here to be the Prime Minister of this country, a minister, a leader, a millionaire, anything that you want to be, it's in your hands. So don't be afraid. So don't be afraid to dream. All right? But what is important is don't just stop at dreaming. From your dream, you have to convert your dream into goals and visions. And not just convert, you got to have a plan, and then you got to work your plan. All right? So that is what you need to do. So don't be afraid. And nothing wrong with every night when you go to bed, before you sleep, you sit down and say, look, this is my dream. I want to be this, I want to be that, and this is how I'm going to do it. And you have a plan, and you work the plan. All right? And you stick to your goal. Now, to achieve anything, once you have come to university here, to achieve anything, you need to have certain game plan. And for me, I like to crystallize it into what I call the 4 Ds. The 4 Ds. D, you know, A, B, C, D. The 4 Ds. The first D is direction. Direction. Direction means you must know where you want to go. You know, if you don't know where you're going, then any road can take you there. Am I right? So you need to know where you're going, because then only can you plan your journey, and then only can you get together all the things that you need to make your journey reach your destination. So the first one is direction. And having got the direction, the second D is dedication. You have to dedicate yourself to achieve and to reach the direction, right? So second one is dedication. And to get to the direction, having dedicated yourself, you must have the determination, the third D, the determination to make it work. But all of this will not work if you don't have the fourth most important D, which is discipline. Discipline. The discipline to follow your plan, to stick together what you have planned to do, and to be able to face many temptations. And being a disciplined person, there's one very important word that you have to learn. What is that word? Very simple word. It's a word said no. You must learn how to use the word no. Yes is very easy. It's so easy to say yes. Come, let's go and see a movie. Yes. Let's not sleep tonight. Yes. Let's not study for 1 month. Yes. Very easy to say yes. But discipline comes from the ability to learn how to say the word no. So if you haven't learned anything else in these last 10 minutes, learn how to say no to things you don't want and you don't need. So you got it? 4 Ds, direction, dedication, determination, and the discipline, and how to learn this one word. All right? But this does not mean that life is just all a question of no's and no fun and games. That's not true. You must have a balanced life. And where do you learn how to exercise this balance? The best place is during your university days. And how do you do this? How do you get a balanced life? Can you imagine in front of you, I give you a jar. We call this the jar of life. Can you imagine? In front of you, I give you a jar, a big glass jar. And I give you 3 piles. 1 pile of rocks, 1 pile of stones, pebbles, and 1 pile of sand. 3 piles sitting in front of you and the jar of life. And I tell you, fill up your jar with any of these 3 the way you like. All right? So what will happen? Some people may put all sand inside, and once you put sand inside, you have no place for stones, no place for rocks, right? So the best way to actually get everything inside would be, first of all, to put the rocks. Maybe you can get 5 or 6 rocks inside, right? And after the rocks, do you still have space for pebbles? Yes, you can still put maybe 10 pebbles inside. And after you put the 10 pebbles, do you still have enough space for sand? You can still put sand. So that is the way to get the balanced life in your jar of life. You first must learn what the rocks in your life are. So what are the rocks in your life? First of all, your health, your family, your loved ones, your studies, all the important things. So you must make a place in your jar of life for all these things that you have identified as a rock in your life. The next thing, you decide in your life, what are the pebbles? The pebbles are those things that will make your life better, but you can live without them. But certainly they will add on to your life. Maybe to be able to buy a car, maybe to take a holiday, things like that, that will enrich your life, will broaden your life, but maybe you can still do without it when you don't have it, but it's still nice to have a few and put inside. And still, after you've filled up your jar with stones and pebbles, you still have room for all the fun things you want that you don't need, but why not? If you can enjoy it, why not? You know, all the nice things that you don't need, but makes you happy. You can still find space to put it in. So one of the secrets is to be able to identify, sit down and work this out. What are the rocks in your life? What are the pebbles in your life? And what is the sand in your life? And you fill up your jar of life so that you will have a well-balanced journey towards your destination. Now in the university, of course, you came here primarily to get an education, to get a degree that will be recognized, appreciated, and give you your place in the workforce. That's what you came here for. But that does not mean you do not absorb all the other good things a university can teach you. Fellowship, community, ability to get on with your fellow people, to make teams. All these things are part and parcel of everything you learn in the university, which you will miss if you do not make some of the rocks part of your university life. And if you happen to have some special skill, for instance, as an example, if you are a sportsman and you're already a national player, then you don't have to give up your sports. Many people will tell you, hey, you are in the university. Enough. Now you just study. Stop playing. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can still manage it. And what is the secret of managing all this? The secret is called time management. You must learn the art of managing time. Now, just like I told you, that all of us are equal, that today is the first day of the rest of our life, there's something else, we are all equal. We all are given the same time every day. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, you're given the same time every day. Am I right? Everybody got 24 hours. None of us is giving away tax in the time, right? But it's how you manage your 24 hours. That's the difference in the skill between different people. And this is a skill that you must master, because this will be the underlying root for your ability to combine different activities. So you decide for yourself how you will manage your time. All right? So managing time is an art. You will learn, and you learn through trial and error, you know. And then you will learn how to, first of all, schedule and allocate your tasks. You will learn how to do many things which we call multitasking. You will also learn how to avoid time wasters, things that waste your time, and time thieves, things that steal your time. And what is important in this managing time is two very important principles which I follow. One is known as controlled engagement. Let me explain what is this controlled engagement. Controlled engagement means that every time you have a task in your hand, even before you start, you have to tell yourself, how much time will I going to allow for this? Say you have to write an essay. So you tell yourself, I will allow myself no more than 4 hours of working time to write this essay. And you must stick to it. In the beginning, you will make mistakes. Sometimes the time is not enough, but you will learn fast how much time you need to allocate for the different things, and don't allocate 1 minute more. And you learn how to fit this thing into the time you have allocated so that you can move on to the next thing. If you don't follow this principle of control engagement, in other words, you don't control the engagement, sometimes you spend days and days doing something because you think you want to get a perfect job, and in the end you neglect all the other things. So you tell yourself, I'm not going to spend more than 4 hours on this, I'll do the best I can. Okay, in the beginning you may be falling a bit short, but you learn how to adjust this as you go along, and eventually you'll become good at this controlled engagement. Now, linked to this theme of controlled engagement is the other thing called the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle is that in anything you do, you don't have to be perfect. You can be 80% is good enough. If you go for perfection, you'll never finish the job. You go on and on and on. And none of us need to be perfect in everything we do. Some things, yes, but not all. So you don't have to be a compulsive perfectionist, where everything must be perfect. If it takes you 3 times as long, you still waste the time. No. You decide, I will do 80% at least my target, and that will be enough for us to pass anything. So remember this paradox of what we call perfection. You don't have to be perfect. All right? Then the next one is be a contrarian. When I say be a contrarian, don't join always what the crowd is doing. Then you get caught in a traffic jam. Do the things at times when others are not doing, always go in the opposite direction, be a contrarian, and you get it done very fast. So readjust your schedule, readjust your behavior to choose the times that they are quite contrarian. All right? So now, what happens? When you put all of this together, hopefully you can manage your jar of life in such a manner that not only you manage time, as a side benefit, you'll also be able to manage stress. Because one of the biggest, starters of stress is that when you're hurried and rushing around and you find that you don't have enough time and you can't cope with your work, you get very stressed. And once you get stressed, you get all kinds of sickness, you get all kinds of problems, and it makes you worse. So at least if you manage time, you will also manage your stress. And once you manage your stress and you manage your time, you're also managing your health. You're also managing your health. And don't forget that while you're in the university, while you're studying hard, working hard, maybe eating too much, all right? One of the things, don't neglect your health. Always set aside enough time in the day, part of time management, to actually have physically active lifestyle. Meaning, have some physical activity that will keep you and your heart in good condition. So these are some of the things that you need to put in place to make your journey of life a success, but also enjoy the journey. That's equally important. You must enjoy the journey. And like I said, there'll be times when things don't go right, but don't give up. Be persistent, and don't forget your goals. Don't forget your goals. There are times also you might feel that you are being, disadvantaged for some reasons. Now, for instance, when I say persistent, how many of you have played the game of snakes and ladders? Not too bad. The others never heard of it? Okay, anyway, if you haven't, please go back and check. Go to any children's store and look what's a snake and ladders. Snake and ladders is a game where you play, where you try to get to the end, you climb ladders and come down snakes. When a group of people play this game, some will get to the end faster, some will be slower, but do you agree with me that if you sat there long enough, all of us will get to the end? Because the game is designed enough that there will be slightly more ladders than snakes. And if you are patient, you'll get to the top. Don't believe me? Go and get a set of snakes and ladders and sit there until you reach the end. Doesn't matter if it's 3 days' time. All right. But anyway, you'll get there faster than that. The point I'm making is we can reach the destination. No doubt how many snakes we have to come down. There'll be enough ladders to help us to get up there. That's the first point I want to make. The second point I want to make is don't always just sit down and grumble, and say, look, I want to go upstairs, and I'm specifically not allowed to use the escalator going up. So I don't want to go upstairs. No, you ask them, am I allowed to use the escalator coming down? And they will tell you, no, we haven't thought about it. So you use the escalator coming down, bounce your way up to the top, and they can't stop you. You get the message? All right, thank you very much for listening. I'd be quite happy to take questions and answers, or any comments or any agreements or disagreements with whatever I have said. Anybody? Yes. Do you have a mic or something? Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Hello, sir. I just have a question. Like, it's general for everyone here, actually. What do you think is an issue for our generation right now that you feel we could correct and make it better for our younger generation, for our future generation? What do you think would be that there are a lot of contradictions where your generation is always by the book, by the rules, and our generation is always breaking the rules, trying to disobey all the rules that you set. So, in your opinion, what do you think is that something we can correct to make sure that our future generation knows what is best for them?
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, if you want to talk like this, we can go even further back. We can talk about my father's generation. When I was like you, I used to think of my father as a rule maker, Those days, they not only followed rules, they wrote the rules. Yes, they wrote the rules. And then they make us follow them, make us follow them. Then, of course, we used to grumble and, try to rebel in any way we can. So that is the business of every incoming generation. So now, we call this Gen Y and Gen X and all these things, and we grumble all the time when we are in our senior citizens club. Our main topic of conversation is how naughty these other generations are and how to handle them. All right? So now you know what we are talking about in the clubs. All right? Okay. So the point remains, this is an inevitable steps of progress. Now, some of you, are so young. I mean, you are very young, but certainly even your teachers are very young compared to some of us. When this country became independent in 1957, you saw the video, I was 14 years old. And my father virtually dragged me to that because I didn't understand the significance of this independence and all that. I went to school in 1950 when I was 6 years old. 1950, and every Friday in the primary school, we have to stand up in the school compound and sing God Save the Queen. God Save the Queen, because we were a British colony. At that time, nobody talked of independence. So suddenly, between 1950 and 57, all our previous Merdeka fighters put together everything in place so that in 1957, we became an independent nation. And since then, the country has progressed in so many ways. I mean, nobody can be happy with everything. But sometimes you also have to look at what are the tremendous things that we have in place and appreciate that as well. Now, I can just pick two examples that are tremendous about this country that you don't find many examples. The number one is our $1 healthcare. For RM1, if you went through the process, you can go up to a heart transplant. For RM1. There are not many other countries in the world that can proudly boast of this. Maybe Cuba is an exception. But otherwise, not many countries can boast of this. Secondly, in our public universities, the level of subsidy that you're having and enjoying here today. How many countries can afford to give this, So these are two very obvious things that we have done that has put in place. So I think every generation has its strengths and has its weaknesses, and we try to adjust to the times. Now, for instance, there's already talk of the changing lifestyle in such a way that many jobs will disappear. For instance, the motor car industry will face some problems because people will just have to, the driverless cars, you just have to press, so why own a car, right? And then when robots will take over many jobs. So we'll have to learn and be prepared for this. And things are moving faster than we can. And sometimes when we are the older generation, it's not so easy to put ourselves in your shoes to try to understand. But this is part of our learning process as well. We try to understand. So while we must keep up with the times, never forget the lessons of history as well. Because many of these lessons, whether they are in a rule book or not, they have been earned through much experience. Okay? Right. Did I answer you? Okay.
So, is there any more questions? Any more questions to Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri?
Don't feel shy. Even if you didn't agree with anything I said, shout it out. We won't deduct marks for that.
Yeah, we have one. So you can come here. Come down to the mic. Yes. Over there.
Good morning, Tan Sri.
Morning.
My name is Mo Wei Hao from School of Physics, first year physics student. Tan Sri, I have a question to ask you. From your experience in life, throughout the life of your journey, what is the most exciting things that you had ever experienced?
Most exciting?
Most exciting things that you had ever experienced that you can share about here in here.
Thank you. Yes, actually, This is a very difficult question. Very difficult question. Because different things excite different people, and different things excited me at different stages of my life. What excited me when I was 18, I didn't even know when I was 6. Okay. Some of you caught it, never mind. Okay. So, you know, if you were to, it's very difficult actually to say, but you know, if you really want maybe some high points, some high points in one's existence. For example, one that would be very difficult to surpass is the day that we are told that we passed the final MBBS exam and you become a doctor. Okay, and I tell you how it worked in my case. When I got a place in medical school, there was only one medical school shared between Malaya and Singapore in 1962. Although Singapore was a separate country, it was still the shared medical school, and Malaysians also go to study there, 120 students. So we entered second year medical school and went through from 1962 until 1967. Now, for me, it was especially stressful, and a lot of the things that I told you I learned there, because my 5 years in medical school while I was studying medicine was also the time that I was a top Asian athlete. And interestingly enough, in 1966, precisely in December, was the final of the Asian Games, where I won the 100 and 200 meters and got the title of fastest man in Asia. And thank you. What is interesting is that the final MBBS exam was in January, hardly 3 weeks after that. So what did I do? I didn't join the team and stay there in Bangkok for 10 or 12 days. I flew in for my event and flew back. I spent altogether 4 days in Bangkok in winning these events. And the classes were going on, and these classes were important because they are the final classes before the exam. So as soon as I flew back, and the first day, next morning, I walked into the classroom like this, of course not so big, 120 students, and the professor is in front. And the students are seated. I rushed from the house, airport, or whatever, and walked in through the gate. And the professor was there. They said, "Excuse me, do you know who's walking in?" And the whole class turned around. They said, "This is our fellow student who's now the fastest man in Asia. Stand up and give him a clap." You know, so can you imagine? Can you imagine what a final year medical student, the professor, instead, normally you expect the professor to say, "What the hell you think you are? Huh? Exam is 1 more month, you are sneaking in here." No, because you have to prove your worth, because you showed them that while you are there, you are serious. So they have been watching you. Believe me, they watch, they got 4 eyes, you know. Your lecturers and teachers got eyes behind the back. If they don't have eyes, there are people who whisper in their ear anyway. All right? So you cannot cheat. So, okay, that was one. Then we went through for the next 1.5 months preparing for the exam. Then we sit the exam over 1 week. And how do they announce the results? What they will do is on the Saturday morning, on the Friday, you have your viva. You know, viva means the final oral examination. By then, they already know your marks. And Saturday morning, we all know that we went to the Vice Chancellor's office. This Vice Chancellor's office is always a frightening place. No, no, not in USM. Okay. All right. There she's protesting. All right. Anyway, so what we do, we go to the VC's office and we all wait there, and then one door will open, you know, and the secretary will come out with a piece of paper like this, with the name of all those who pass and come and pin on the board. So can you imagine? The moment she has pinned, we'll all rush in. For me, it was not difficult. Jagatisan Manika Vasagam, longest name. I see one long name like that, I know I passed. So that kind of moment is hard to forget. Hard to forget. You know, okay, so what do we do? Just to tell you how you talk about generational change. So we have passed the MBBS, and you just walk to another door and they'll give you a printed letter to say, this is to certify that so-and-so attended medical school in Singapore and has passed the MBBS, signed by the VC and the Dean. So you take the letter and you catch the night train. on Sunday night from Singapore. You arrive at the railway station. You cross, because the Ministry of Health is just across the road, and you go to the last block, and they'll tell you, go and see one Mr. Naigam. He's the clerk in charge of houseman applications. So you go there and see Mr. Naigam and give him this letter and say, oh, you have come already. Yes, because I'm also with my classmates, maybe 10 or 15 of us, all in the same night train. Oh, you all have come already. Okay. And then you sit in front of him. Oh, you're applying. I suppose you want to go to KL, lah. You want to stay in KL. I say, yes, can. So he says, okay, for you can. The 100 meters help. So next thing you know, he's signing you a letter, sending you to the state direct. That time, Kuala Lumpur is in Selangor. So you go to the Selangor Health Office with this letter to say you're reporting for duty. Same morning. And then you go to the Selangor Health Office and you meet the director and he says, welcome. And he says, I post you to GHKL. You get another letter. Before even lunchtime, you got a letter to report to GHKL for your housemanship. I'm told today they got to wait some time. All right? You see the difference. That time, no convocation yet, no degree yet, only this letter from the university. That's not all. As you come downstairs, there's a very nice young gentleman. His name is Ashad, later I found out, dressed nicely in a tie and everything, standing very politely, and he says, you're a new doctor. I said, yes. You want a Volkswagen or not? You can drive away, no down payment. Every month, $180, 5 years only. I can deliver this afternoon. You want or not? I say, yeah, why not? Why not? So he says, delivers a car in the afternoon. So you see, that was life. You know, so things change, Things change. So we have to adjust and adapt to the change. So answering your question, what are your high points? These are the high points. So how do you compare the excitement when you just drive off a Volkswagen without $1 down payment, with passing a medical exam, with winning gold medals? So it's all very hard to compete now. But all are exciting times. Now, I will not tell you the bad times. That you come and see privately, I'll tell you. Okay. But there were, obviously there were. There were disappointments, there were heartbreaks. Obviously, we all have this. But we climb out of it, stop grumbling and continue.
So is there any more? One question? So please come.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Shalini from the School of Biological Sciences. So I just have a question that has been wondering me quite some time. So over the time, our education system has really changed, that's true. And I have a lot of elderly people commenting that, comparing the education those times and now, saying that now it has been way easier. So is it true? And if it is actually true, it also indirectly means that we are producing graduates with lower quality. So I just want to have a piece of your mind.
Okay. Well, the fact remains, in terms of education and what we had to do as students, obviously we didn't have a lot of the tools that you have today. So in that sense, life was much more difficult. For example, if we wanted to write an essay and we needed to consult journals, we actually had to go to a place called a library, Have you all heard of this thing called library? That's where they keep books, You all know what books are? Right? So we actually had to go to a library and actually look for these resource materials among all the books there. And you try to, of course, collect some of them and you photocopy them. Those which are fresh journals, you can photocopy. But all the older ones, they're already bound into books, And you open the middle, the photocopy won't capture the middle. All right? So you actually sit down and copy and write. So can you imagine the kind of work we needed to do to just write a simple essay? Today, what you guys do? You Google. And then some of you cut and paste. All right? So what I'm saying is, even if you don't cut and paste, you don't plagiarize, you have access to all these things almost instantly. Almost instantly. So, these are the things. So, of course, the education system has to also modify and adjust to all these changes. And what is important is that these changes are happening very fast and faster and faster and faster. Everything is becoming exponentially faster. And so the challenge for the new people is how to keep up with these changes. So whereas we had to go through hard times, but our times changed slowly. Whereas now, you got a lot of support, but the support changes very fast and you got to be on top of it. So I think, the answer to your question is, no generation had it easier than the other. Each of us had to do with what we have and use our resources to enable us to achieve our ambitions with what we have. All right? So in the same time, so of course your education has changed. So to pass judgment as to which was easier, which was harder, I think is a very difficult task and maybe not a fair one. So we will not even attempt to do that. We must all be prepared to perform to our best in our current setting with what we have and with what we have access to. But what is important is you follow the principles that I've told you to achieve your ambitions, to achieve your goals, and to be able to manage all of this. And this business of managing time becomes even harder today, because you have so many distractions. Now, if you like, you can be having your phone open in front of you all the time. And in between something else, you are answering SMS and Facebook and all these things going on, So this is where your discipline is most important. You must learn how to know when to have downtime on your phone when you're doing other things. And switch it off. And finish your task, control engagement, and then check your messages. Now, if you reply the message 30 minutes late, I don't think you're going to lose anything. They're not giving free awards every 5 minutes. Right? So you won't miss anything. So I hope I've answered your question to some extent.
Yeah. All right, Tan Sri Jega. I have questions from engineering campus, which is from Chia Kai Bin from Mechatronic Engineering. So the question goes like this. How can we still be a sociable person if we don't go with the crowd, but always go against them?
Okay, right. Now, I think he is addressing, first of all, see how amazing it is. This question is coming from
engineering campus.
It's in across the causeway. Instant time. Those days, in the early days, the guy actually had to swim across. And he'd be waiting outside there, dripping with his question. Now he just sends it, and I've got to answer the thing. Okay, now he is obviously referring to my little comment about take the contrarian approach, right? I don't mean it every time. If you go back to my other principle of rocks, pebbles, and sand, he's absolutely right. Social interaction, making your team and so on, I meant, is also part of your responsibility, and so you allocate time for it. So what you say is, every day maybe, I will allow half an hour, 1 hour for my social interactions with friends, whatever things you do and all that. But taking the control engagement approach, you will stick to that. You stick to that. So it doesn't mean it is exclusive, So, but you must allocate time. And you must be disciplined enough not to get carried away too much. Because one can spend all your time socializing. It's more fun than studying. Agreed? Not very convincing. Okay. Right. I hope you answered this question. Yeah.
Hello, Transri. I want to ask 2 questions.
Where are you? Okay.
Right.
Here.
The first question maybe penetrate on your. My name is Maximilian. I come from School of Educational Studies. My first question maybe penetrate on your privacy concern, but to inspire me myself, so I would like to ask you this question. What actually the significant pillar that make you to unleash your ability to be one of the Malaysian pride?
One of the?
One of the Malaysian pride in this era.
Oh, okay.
My second question is, recently the United States of America Navy warship had been sank in the Straits of Malacca. So in some of the page from Facebook, the netizen just left comment without researching on further details on this incident. So can you give some more extent to what actually affect these people, the Malaysian in this cyber world? What actually make them like feel totally unscrupulous on their action? Just leaving comment without giving further research on this matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll answer your second question first. Apparently, this one guy whom you may have heard of, his name is Donald Trump. You may have heard his name recently. He calls that false news. Where you just jump to conclusions without verifying. It's so easy to do. So that's one of the price we pay for the new technology. It's so easy to do. In the past, you got to go to the library, get some facts, write the essay, and send it by post laju or post slow until until it depends how much stamps you put, and it takes a long time to get there. Okay, so things are changed. So this is some of the spin-offs. Not everything is desirable. So whenever there is change, there's always good things happening, and also the collateral damage, as you call it. So what is our cleverness? Our cleverness is to be able to manage this. You learn how to pick up the good and manage the fallout. And that is the success of society. Never has a change been introduced that has not been without a negative fallout. It's how we manage it. And the very fact that you're standing up and asking this question brightens my life, because then you're thinking about this and you're conscious. The very fact that a group of you can think like this, you will put something right in place. So it will happen, but it will take time. Because there will be enough people questioning that there will be processes put in place to actually minimize this. You can never eradicate this. As long as we are human beings, you cannot eradicate all the negative things. That's part of our human nature. And we have to combat. The game of police and thieves was played for many, many generations. Okay? Even before police forces were formed. So anyway, so I hope that part. The second part you asked me, what was it that energized me? It's a combination of things. First of all, luck. Luck plays a great part. Let me explain. If anybody were to tell you that all humans are created equal, that's nonsense. Nonsense. None of us here sitting in this room are equal. You know why? Because we all have our specific DNA, which we inherit from our parents. So none of us is the same. And what does that mean? It's neither good nor bad. What it means is that each one of us has our own strengths and our own weaknesses. So lucky is the person who finds out as early as he can what his strength is. And then you exploit your strength. You work on your strength so that you become a success. Now suppose your strength was in something else, then you'd be wasting a lot of time because you didn't know where your strength lie. So in my case, to answer your question, I was lucky. I was born into a family. My father was a government servant during the colonial times. Now you all won't understand what is colonial times. We were actually ruled by a foreign government, and we actually stood up and sang the anthem of that government at that time. So my father was brought up in this, and when they introduced athletic competitions in this country in 1906, until 1924, only the colonial citizens were allowed to compete, only white people, British people. The local people were not allowed to join these competitions. So what happened was, my father apparently used to run to work and come back, but nobody recognized him or allowed to compete. But in 1924, they released the competition to local people. And my father entered and he beat all these fellows and won the 440 yards. So the DNA was already there. All right. And then my brothers followed suit. So when I was a young boy growing up, I grew up in a family where they are encouraging me to actually follow suit, and I can watch them and I feel so, I go to the field, I watch them run, I feel so proud, I feel so motivated. So it's naturally. But on the other hand, if my father never had the chance, and instead he thought his son must become a piano teacher and forced me to go for piano lessons, I would have been such a failure because I have no ear for music. In fact, when I went to secondary school, those who didn't sing on the Fridays were actually sent to detention class. I was the only boy who was sent to detention class if I sang. My singing was so bad. So the point I'm trying to make is luck in this sense. So all of us should expose ourselves to as many things as we can very early so that you find out what you're good for. And not everybody is good for the same thing, so you don't have to do what other people are doing. You try to find what is your niche, what you will excel in, and every effort you put in there will get better rewards than when you do try to force something on yourself for which you are not suited, because we are all not the same. It's not the same. For instance, in taking the example of sports, if you are under 5 feet tall, it's hard for you to be a basketball player. Not that you cannot. If you force yourself, maybe you can make yourself into the school team or maybe the state team by trying extra hard. But you'll always have your limitations. But on the other hand, if you switch to weightlifting, maybe you can become a world-class weightlifter because you don't have to carry the weight so high. All right? So these are simple things, So you need to find what you're good for earlier. So I was lucky. All right? So I had the right kind of home environment, the right encouragement and the right support in the right thing. Because like I said, if I had been forced to do something else, you will not invite me to stand here and speak to you today. It's a fact, because these are things that follow one on each other, Right? So I hope I answered your question.
All right, Tan Sri. I finally have the text from Kesihatan Health Campus.
Even further. Those days they'll come by camel.
So, hi Tan Sri, I'm Kavita Siva Pragasam from Sains Senaman and Sukan from Campus Kesihatan. I'm an athlete and I have always wanted to ask you, how did you manage your time with sports and studies? And what will you advise to those to be active in both areas and not only one area, as I strongly believe that we should be an all-rounder?
Exactly. She is like repeating my speech. And I gave all the principles there, All the essential thing was time management. Now, for instance, to be a top-class athlete in my time, I had to train 3 to 4 hours a day. And you will be wondering how I fit this into medical school. Again, you use the discipline. I used to wake up at 6 o'clock. I go for my training from 6:30 to 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm in class. All right? Then in the evening, classes finish at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Then you're back to training until 6:37. Then you bathe and have your quick meal and study till 10 o'clock. If you do this every day, it's enough. It's enough. 3 hours of training, 3 hours of study. The secret is to be doing this every day. And when your friends tell you, my friends in the hostel, after we finish dinner, they say, let's play billiards. I'll say, no, you play the billiards, I'll go upstairs and study. Because they can study till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I can't because I must wake up at 6. So I have to readjust. So that's the price you pay. Nothing comes without paying a price. You have to pay a price. So in my case, I paid the price by my friend saying, look at this fella, he never join us. All right? So that, not so good. But the same fellows will cheer you loudly when the time comes as well. So not bad. So it pays back, it pays back. Right? So don't worry. I think the lady who asked this question, don't get discouraged. You can do both. Just exercise these principles of time management, allocation of your resources, and don't forget the lesson of the jar of life, the rocks, the pebbles, and the sand, and allocate these things in the right proportion into your jar of life.
So we hope there's another questions. Yes.
Hi, sir. I'm Pei Suang. I would like to ask that what is the most regret thing you have to do? Can you share with us and give us advice?
Okay, see me after the lecture, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
No, seriously, I mean, it's difficult to talk about it, but we make many decisions in our life. We make many decisions in our life, some of which may not be the best decisions, and you may have regret them. Like for instance, you may regret why you took this particular course, or why you went to this university, why you retained this citizenship, or why did you marry this woman, and No, what I'm saying is, I noticed there are more ladies in this university than boys. I didn't notice before. Again, the big change, just to digress a bit. Actually, those days when we went to university, we searched very hard to see some girl students. See the change now. Fantastic. Okay, what they call. So those, there's a change. The girls are, studying hard and getting the marks and coming into university. Well done, congratulations. Okay. Now, coming back to this question, yes, there are many things in life, like I said, you take turns and so on. Some may not have been the best decisions, but you don't know. So when people will ask me, they'll ask me this question many times. So I got only one answer to say. I don't think I am in a position now to say what would have happened if I had changed, if I did this instead of did that. For instance, if I had taken law instead of taking medicine. If I stayed in Singapore instead of coming back to Malaysia. I can go on and on with all this decision making. But one thing I'm sure, that if whatever decision that I made, if I done any one thing slightly different, I will not have this wife and 6 grandchildren. Because every single decision I took led to this, and these are my joys of my life today. Really. So every decision I made finally ended up in this. Do you envy me or not? Exactly. So I think that's the answer. Because we don't know which was the right decision, which was wrong, but this is the end product. And if one decision had been different, this product will not be here. Because it would have changed. You would have stayed in a different place, took another job, met another lady, you won't have the same 6 grandchildren. The DNA would be totally different. Exactly. So I have one granddaughter who's 17 years old. Her father is Australian. And she is the Australian under-18 champion now for kayak. So you see my logic. You cannot dissect, but you can tell you what was the result. And I think it's best to look at the current result. There's another lady here, yeah.
Good evening, Doctor.
No, it's not evening yet.
Oh, sorry, good afternoon. Okay.
I know it's a long time, but...
Just now you was talking about your product and everything you showed in the phone. Okay, I have 2 questions. Okay, you was talking the bad times and good times and everything. Okay, I just want to know a mistake which you have done in your life and change your life dramatically in a good way. And second thing is, just now doctor talked about the strength and weakness. Okay, I want to know a weakness of yours which makes your strength more stronger. 2 questions. And sorry, I didn't introduce myself.
No, this kind of question is actually the subject of PhD thesis.
Sorry, doctor, I didn't introduce my name. My name is Shan Bagawali Sarangabani. I'm from School of...
Your name is even longer than mine.
School of Housing, Building and Planning. I'm doing a Bachelor of Science in Architecture. So
Okay.
please do answer my question. Just 2 questions. Thank you.
Now I'm so distracted that I forgot the questions.
Okay, I can repeat the question again.
Yeah. I know. You want to know what was the weakness.
Yeah, your weakness makes your strength more stronger, and a mistake, because we are human, we used to do mistakes.
Okay, I tell you what, one very quick answer for you. My weakness was I hated losing. Answered your question or not? Exactly. So you win all the time. You know, I learned a few things from my elders. I tell you the lessons now. For instance, you know, punctuality is a very important thing. You know, my father always taught me, you must be very punctual. And the best way to ensure punctuality is that you must, inside you, hate being late. Then you'll always be punctual. If you're punctual only because somebody will criticize, you'll still be late. But if you are late because inside you, for instance, you're driving your car and you're 5 minutes late and you're agitated and you know you're so angry that you're late and so on, you must be angry. You must hate to be late so that you'll be punctual. All right? And in terms of punctuality and in doing things in life, there's another lesson I learned. It is better to be half an hour early than 5 minutes late. All right? So these are some of the things that we learn as we go along. All right? So the lessons, I mean, some people will describe, you know, like for instance, you hate losing. You hate losing. That's why you want to, if you enjoy losing because you can hug the guy and say, well done, my friend. Then you're not going to be a great winner, you know. You need to have the killer instinct as well once you enter competitive sports. You need to have that, you know.
So, ladies and gentlemen, so I hope that this is the last question, I hope. Last one, all right. Two more. All right,
hi.
two more.
Hi,
Oh yeah, one over there, yeah, and one here, yeah.
I'm Arif Zukri from School of Physics. Okay, basically I have two questions. First, about how you manage your time between studies and sport, but since it has been answered, so you can skip that. So my second question is about recently Khairul Hafijantan has break your 49 years old record in 200 meter event. So you said that you hate losing. So basically you are losing.
No, I didn't hear. What is it?
You said that you hate losing, but Khairul Hafijantan just break your record.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what do you feel? Do you feel disappointed or excited? I just want to hear directly from you. Thank you.
Before I answer your question, can you please state your conflict of interest? Are you the chairman of the USM branch of the Khairul fan club?
I just want to hear directly from you. What do you feel about it?
Seriously, winning and losing is a momentary affair. It's not about 49 years. When we set a record, we don't expect it to stay 49 years. The fact it's not broken is not my fault. Normally when you set a record, you expect somebody to come 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. But there were many changes within Malaysia itself where young people actually didn't want to spend their time out in the hot sun. It's a fact. If you look at our sports today, we are world champions in some sports, badminton, squash, bowling, archery. What is common about all these sports? They are practiced indoors, and they are not in the hot sun, they are comfortable sports. And secondly, they require, what are the strengths behind these sports? They require what is called muscle memory. Like I said, none of us are equal. Our Asian people, especially from East Asia, their strength is in muscle memory. The ability to put a force without thinking and hitting a line exactly without missing an inch. Our badminton players, our squash players all can do that. They have tremendous muscle memory. On the other hand, to win 100 meters, you must have fast twitch fibers. The fast twitch fibers are found best in the west coast of Africa. You see the Olympic Games final today, who are the 8 finalists? They can represent Britain, Jamaica, Spain, anywhere, but they're all, you take back the DNA is from the west coast of Africa. So I had a mixture of some of this, somewhere down the line. So anyway, so the fact remains that, when we perform, at that time we hate to lose. For instance, that 100 meters which I won, or the 200 meters, was done, with full vigor, and you wouldn't want to lose at that time. So you establish a record and you decide to retire. And those days I retired from athletics at 24 because we don't earn anything from sport. I have to focus on my medicine, become a specialist and all that. Today they don't stop because every event they get appearance money, they get rewards, they get everything. So they'll go on until people tell them to stop. We stop when people say, why are you stopping? Why are you stopping? Don't stop. That's half an hour early, not 5 minutes late.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, a round of applause to Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri.
One lady, one last.
Oh,
last
one more.
She's been waiting there.
Okay, all right.
Thanks for remembering me.
I never forget. I always can see from the fourth eye.
My name is Shirley. I'm from the School of Chemistry. I noticed something that both you and our VC just said just now, because you guys were always talking about family, but you didn't mention anything about friendship. I'm wondering, if you were to become a leader, how would friendship make a difference? Is it important?
Yes.
Yes, but when we are when we are climbing up the ladder, I noticed that I lose many friends. I have lost many friends. I might have regretted some of it. Do you think that losing those friendships are worth
All right.
getting it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, first of all, to answer your question, with friends like that, you don't need enemies. Meaning that, you're absolutely right. The people around you, of course, we all always mention the parents. They are the first two people who bring you up. Then it's your school teachers and the people you mix with. I did mention, although I didn't use the specific word French, I said for instance friends, but I said all in all there are people who give you a shoulder to climb on, including friends. Like I said, in my case, there are 30 over people I am indebted to. Many of them are just friends. They are friends up to now. But of course, in life, not everybody is your friend. And you must learn how to rise above it. If you have your ambition, and if you have your goals, and you want to work towards your goals, as long as you're not doing immoral things, not breaking laws, and you're following all the proper etiquette and proper morals, then if people don't like it, it's just too bad. So don't feel bad about it. Because for every one of those people, I'm sure you have other friends who stuck by you through thick and thin. Am I right or not? Yeah, you're shaking your head. Agreed?
This is from my personal experience. I have a friend who is not as good as I am in academics, but I feel like I'm losing her already since I came to USM and she didn't continue her studies.
Well, you somehow have to overcome that and think of what you are going to be doing next. Yeah? Don't let that hold you back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that is the last question. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause to Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri for the interesting sharings. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite Yang Berbahagia, Professor Dato Dr. Asma Ismail, to present a token of appreciation to Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, our event for today's session has finally come to an end. So once again, we would like to thank you to all our honored guests to be here with us. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I will pass this mic to the DTSP. Please come in.
Okey, DTSP, USM! Muka penat, muka lapar semua ada ni. Sekali lagi. USM! Okey, baik. Untuk rakan saya kat atas, boleh prepare slide tak? Boleh? Dah? Belum? Okey, baik. Kita akan tunjukkan satu slide nanti untuk berkaitan slot kita untuk petang ni bersama dengan pusat pengajian masing-masing. Untuk kepastian, HBP ada bawa kelengkapan seperti yang dimaklumkan semalam. HBP?